Hello, I'm Sara Weiss of Passion in Pickleball. Welcome to the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV, channels 249, 250, and 251. You can download the Zingo TV app on iOS and Android app stores. Don't forget to rate and leave a comment. This app is free and is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku, and Roku sticks. Also on smart TVs 2016 and on. Hello. Good to be back for episode 4. We've got an incredible guest today that most of you, if you play pickleball or know about pickleball, will know. So we're really excited to have Kyle Yates on. But before I get into interviewing this incredible guest, I want to talk a little bit about my passion of pickleball and how I went from being a life coach to full-time in pickleball. A lot of the people watching, I know you guys haven't played yet. It's time to play. It's so fun. But even beyond pickleball, if you have something that lights you up, I encourage you to follow it. A big piece of advice one of my mentors gave me was when you find something that lights your soul on fire, follow it. And it doesn't mean, when I say follow it, I don't mean chase it and give up everything to go all in on it, but it's about following the things that light you up. It's why I made this TV show. It's why I interview all the top players and top entrepreneurs in this area so they get to share what it took for them to follow their happiness. Because it's not always easy to follow something that makes you happy, because sometimes it seems like, well, how can I make a living out of this, right? 2.5 years ago, I started playing this sport that was, not exactly super popular yet. It was kind of obscure, if anything, but I was burning out. I was a life coach, and I still am a life coach, but back then I was creating a great practice. I had a lot of income from it. I was helping a lot of people with life coaching, except I burnt out because I was giving into something that I do love and that I'm very passionate about, but some of you might relate with burning out. We did it too much, and there just wasn't enough fun. So why I recognized this was when I was sitting down, I was watching Netflix, I was relaxing for the first time in a little while, and I'm 15 minutes into watching some TV, doing something mindless for once, and 15 minutes in, I get that anxiety, like I got to be productive. Why am I sitting on my butt? I need to do something so I make money and I create a living and create the success I'm chasing and all that stuff. And I was like, I'm 33 at this point. I'm like, why am I living a life where I'm stressing and I'm burnt out and I'm freaking out about relaxing, like as if I'm not allowed to relax, says boss Sara to myself. I didn't like that. I wasn't a huge fan. So if you ever have felt that way, where you've gotten this like anxiety that makes you go, oh my God, I need to be productive, then this is where you might want to listen up. I asked myself, what is it that I truly wanted in life? I mean, I felt like I had found my passion and my purpose, and I was giving back and I was doing something great for society, but I forgot about me. I forgot about me and what I truly wanted. What I truly wanted, after sitting there on that couch going, what is it that I'm really looking for here? For me, it was fun. I wanted to have more fun. That was what was missing from my life. And you might want to do some introspection and ask yourself, what is it that you truly want out of life, right? We get this chance to really explore all facets of what's beautiful about life. And one thing that I felt like I was missing was just useless fun. To me, I just wanted fun for no reason. Not fun for a living and fun for whatever, but fun for no reason. And all of a sudden, I think it was about 2 months later, pickleball showed up, and I fell in love with it. And I don't really come from sports, so it was really odd to me that I picked up a stupid paddle and hit a stupid ball, and all of a sudden I'm like addicted to this sport. But what I did notice was that it lit my soul on fire. Now, pickleball is not going to light everybody's soul on fire, but there's a reason why it's the fastest growing sport in North America. It's extremely fun. It connects us. It's huge on community and connection. The only reason you can play pickleball is because of the people you meet. So there's something there that's really incredible, that connection, and just being able to kind of not have to think about life's stuff while you're on the court. You get to just let that all go and be kind of primal in a way. Sports, again, I don't come from sports. This is a new experience to really experience kind of being primal, letting your instincts take over and kind of being a bit of an animal on the court. Rawr, So for me, it lit up my soul. Now, the question I had to ask myself was, how much time am I going to put into pickleball? This thing that I basically asked for that gave me fun. So when you find something that lights your soul on fire and you go through this question, like, how do I get more of it in my life? You go after it. I didn't know any answers to what I was going to do, but I knew that I wanted it in my life and I wanted more of it. So I continued to go into it more and more. All of a sudden, there was a point where it's like, I think I want to take this seriously. So, how do I make this my life? How do I make pickleball my life instead of being a life coach? First things first, stay life coaching. Keep your day job. Keep doing what you're doing. Just still continue to follow. And the more I followed it, the more opportunities started to show themselves. I started to have ideas how I could be an entrepreneur in the space, how I could become a coach and start to make an actual living and an income in pickleball without even considering going pro. Because at that time, in the beginning, when I made that decision, this is going to be my life, I didn't really think I could go pro. But the longer I played, the more I dedicated myself, the more I was bitten by the bug, we'll say, the more I realized if I put in the dedication and the commitment to this, I could go pro. But at that point, I had already started to work on certain entrepreneurial aspects. All of this kind of just opened itself up to me organically. So I'm saying this all because whatever it is that lights you up, and it could be sewing and knitting, it could be art, it could be something to do with sports and fitness. I don't know what it is for you, but for me, it was pickleball. I knew the feeling that I got from it made me want more of it. So I took those steps. Here's some of the things that I did, some of the steps that I took while expanding my network. Was I was meeting everybody. I made a point to meet people. So whatever it is that you are part of, there are online communities, there are in-person communities. Get to know people. Get to know some of the best people that have gone through the ups and downs, gone the trials and tribulations, and have created success in that area. You wonder why I have the people coming on this show that I do? Because those are the people I'm looking up to, asking myself, how did they do it? How did they create success in something that they loved? Which we're going to ask Kyle soon. I got to know many, many people and I went and I explored. Now, here's a big thing. Like, I grew up in Ottawa, Ontario, and I haven't gone that far, but I travel. I do travel and I go to the States and I go to Mexico and I go to these places and I do it deliberately, also meeting people specifically in pickleball. So I travel, I expand my horizons. I was meeting people left and right, and I was putting my ideas out there. I was posting, I was connecting. One of the biggest things that have gotten me to where I'm at, including having a TV show, including having the Ernie box I've launched, including being a sponsored athlete, including getting to know top pros like Kyle Yates, is because I put myself out there. Be bold. Stand up and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm up to. I did this in some forums on Facebook. I did it in person. I told people what I wanted and where I'm going. And all of a sudden, the right people start showing up. The opportunities continue to show themselves. So what I'm recommending to you is if something lights your soul on fire, get out there. Don't just treat it like a little side hobby. It's not going to pay the bills, so why take it serious? We're not living life to work, people. We're working to live. We're not living to work. So my whole frame of mind in getting into pickleball was I don't want to work my whole life in something that feels like work. Pickleball to me does not feel like work. I now play in pro events. I've medaled in pro. I am an entrepreneur in the space. I am coaching back-to-back lessons every single day. I am connecting with incredible people, learning from some of the best players in the world, and I'm loving every single minute of it because I am chasing or following something that lights my soul on fire. There is not one day that I wake up going, oh, I have to play pickleball today. Oh, I have to teach pickleball today. I just followed what lit my soul on fire, and the rest kind of fell into place. So I hope that gives you value before I invite Kyle Yates on, because he is also someone who did the same thing. He followed his passions and it turned into something really incredible. So, Kyle Yates, can I get you to magically appear on the show? So magic. Poof. Kyle,
Hey, Sarah.
how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm great.
Awesome. It's good to see you here. I know a lot of people who have looked up to you for a long time because, as I'm going to mention, you are one of the very first professional pickleball players. You've been playing for long enough that you've seen so much development and evolution in this sport. And you've seen the ups, you've seen the downs, you've faced the challenges in the mountains, and you've turned something that lights your soul on fire into something very incredible. How's that feel?
It's definitely fun. It's exciting. Yeah, pickleball's just kind of spiraled out of control for me. It fell into my lap and just never went away.
I love it. And we're very glad about that because you are a 7-time U.S. champion and you're very exciting to watch. You're someone that I look up to, especially for your ernies, your inside out ernies. Mwah. If you don't know what an ernie is, look it up. The first time I saw someone ernie, I'm like, I got to figure out how to do this. And Kyle's really good at it. So without further ado, I'm going to ask the first question I ask everyone. Why pickleball?
Pickleball chose me. It was the other way around. I grew up playing all sports. I just loved playing all sports: soccer, tennis, golf, basketball. You name it. And my uncle, who coincidentally also taught me tennis when I was a kid, would also drag me out to a racquetball court for the first time. Took me to a squash court for the first time. Badminton, every racket sport, all kind of came from him. He was the racket sport guy in my family. My parents had never played tennis or anything like that. And one of his racquetball buddies eventually found pickleball, convinced him to try it, and they had a few courts at a local rec center. And he said, "Kyle, I got another racket sport for you. You're gonna love it. Come try it." And I go, "Well, what is it called?" And he tells me it's called pickleball. And I just laughed. I said, "No, thanks, not for me. That sounds silly. No. Let's go play tennis, but I'm not playing pickleball." And he goes, "Just give it a try. Come play me in singles. You'll love it." So I was like, "All right, I'll trust you." We went out, played one game of singles. He beat me, and I'm so competitive. And I'm like, no way this guy is gonna beat me at a sport again. So I went. I was like, all right, rematch next week, and I was hooked. It was just so much fun.
Being beaten by the Dorises and the Barbaras got me hooked. It is not fun to have people who are in their 80s kick your butt when you're like 30s, 20s. Like, oh my God, I have to win this. So it was the same for me. It was the exact same. And you said you come from these racket sports. There's a lot of people who have these racket sport experiences and they're kind of doing this with pickleball. They're like, yeah, whatever, get off my tennis court. What do you have to say to the tennis players who are like, no pickleball?
That's fine. We don't want those attitudes on a pickleball court, anyways. Most of the pickleball people are pretty friendly because you have to be somewhat open-minded to try a sport called pickleball. And I feel like that's just kind of the community feels is people are pretty welcoming and understanding for the most part.
Yeah, it's honestly my favorite part. When I first got started, the community that welcomed me in, that said, "Hey, a new player, come on in." It made me feel really good to be just welcomed into something again I didn't know about. I was brand new, and I'd have my butt handed to me by these people who I did not think could beat me in anything. It was really neat. So, your background is it mainly tennis, or did you have a main focus, say on like tennis, where did you play tennis in college? What's a bit about your background?
Growing up, played mostly soccer. Actually, it's mostly soccer. Tennis as a hobby on the side, and then golf mixed in. Both my parents were professional golfers, but I was too hyper as a kid. I wanted to run around and chase a soccer ball. And then one of my best friends going into high school was a big tennis guy, and I would go play with him just to hang out with him because we were best friends. And I'd go play with him a bunch. And it got to the point where I was kind of getting to his level, and he convinced me to go play some tournaments. And again, I was just so competitive, so I started competing in tennis tournaments in high school, and then I kind of just focused on that for a few years, and found pickleball around my kind of sophomore, junior year of high school. Again, didn't really take it very seriously. It wasn't a real sport. This was 2012. It wasn't a real sport. I was playing with my uncle and his buddies, and then going into college, I went to University of Florida for academics, not for tennis. I didn't play tennis. Actually, when I left high school, I retired from tennis, but I was playing a lot of pickleball. And so on the weekends, I would go play pickleball at the Villages, which for you all who don't know, it's a senior living community. It's a big city in Florida, but it's all 50 and over. And so I'd go there on the weekends to play with those guys because they had tons of pickleball courts and a bunch of really good players. And my friends in college would ask me, if they want to hang on. I would never tell them I was going to the Villages to play pickleball with a bunch of 50-year-olds. But I had so much fun with it.
The Villages is pretty well known for its pickleball. There is a lot to do in the Villages when it comes to pickleball. There's tournaments there. So I've actually never been. Tell the world a little bit about your experience in the Villages.
It's known for a few things. It's known for a few things, some good, some bad. But they've got like 200 pickleball courts, and back then in 2013, the number one men's doubles team in the country, really the world, those both got to practice with them a ton. So I was really good company right when I started.
I love it. I love it. For those of you who don't know Kyle Yates, because many of the watchers actually have not played pickleball yet, this is streaming in 138 countries. So we're talking all around the world here. Why don't you tell them a little bit about your achievements? And without it, don't worry about ego or anything. We want to hear all of what you've accomplished, Kyle.
All right. Keep it short. Pickleball world number one, 2016 through 2019, really up until COVID. Won the first four U.S. Open, the pickleballs, first four U.S. Open pickleball championships. I've won about 7 so far. First one was in 2016. National champion a few times, but I was really fortunate to get into pro pickleball really early on. And really early on, meaning 2014, I was kind of the youngest pro player at like the nationals, and yeah, so I think I was fortunate to get in really early on before a lot of younger ex-college tennis player, ex-professional tennis players starting getting into it. And I still compete on Major League Pickleball, on a Major League Pickleball team, and other pro tournaments. So I still compete, but it's been a fun ride. It's crazy to see how much it's grown.
Yeah, even in the time since I've began 2.5 years ago, the evolution, the technology, the people, the leagues, the drama, the popcorn I'm eating, watching the drama, it's quite the ride. It's quite the roller coaster. And for those of you who have an opportunity to watch Kyle, if you go on YouTube, I'm sure you can find anything all over YouTube on how he plays. Something that I'm curious on is how you developed your dynamic style. You have a very interesting style to watch. It's very dynamic. You have very quick reflexes. What are some of the things you did to develop that?
I think a lot of it started with not being a fantastic tennis player. I don't necessarily have beautiful tennis swings, but I play a lot of ping pong and other racket sports. So it's kind of just a blend of a lot of different styles, I would say. I've had to be pretty creative for the most part. And, my volleys really aren't as pretty as some of these tennis players. My ground strokes aren't as pretty as some of the tennis players, but I like to think they're pretty effective. I just kind of get the job done. And I'm not the biggest guy in the world. I'm only 5'10", and so I have to be kind of scrappy. I played a lot of soccer, so I'm just used to running around. So yeah, I feel like a lot of my points end up being kind of chaotic. But I've had to play really smart. I've had to figure out what not try to get crazy, and realize that being tall in pickleball, you've got to be smart and creative, and I just have fun with it. All the different shots you can hit. It's to be very deceptive and tricky, because I'm not just going to overpower most people.
The trickiness is the funnest part. I love watching people do the misdirects and the disguise speed ups. I love it. I love it. What would you tell someone who is, decent at pickleball that actually has aspirations to say go pro? What are some of the things that you think they should focus on?
Well, first I would say good luck. It's not impossible. There's a lot of really good players out there, but the opportunities are definitely growing. Back when I first started, there's only so many good players and only so many courts. And although it seems like, well, if there's less high caliber players, you think it'd be easier to go pro, but there was less people to practice with. Nowadays, there's a lot of opportunities to practice, a lot of places to play, a lot of good players to play with. So I feel like it's actually, you have more opportunity to get to that level nowadays than back in the day. But I would say things to focus on for the most part is just consistency. And the pros are the pros because they really just do not miss. What really separates them from everyone else, it's not necessarily sheer athleticism. It's not necessarily shot making. It's just the consistency aspect of it. Most points are lost, not won. And so you see the pros hitting these amazing shots. And I think amateurs try to replicate that and try to do all this crazy stuff, but they don't realize that the pros aren't making the same amount of errors. So you can hit 2 or 3 amazing shots, but make 10 errors, well, you're losing. So the pros won't make any errors and then might hit 1 or 2 amazing shots. Focus on fundamentals, focus on consistency, and not try to be as flashy, and that'll take you a lot further.
So true. I remember the first tournament I ever entered, my whole strategy, the whole tournament was don't do anything crazy, just get the ball over and let them screw up. And it worked. It worked very well. Now there's a little bit more to it, but it really is still back to that fundamental of just get that over the net, keep it low and unattackable. So I love that. What's one of your favorite drills that you like to do?
I just play a ton of skinny singles, really. Basically, just half court singles against someone. So you're essentially playing doubles, but you're getting every single ball. I think it's a great drill just to get a lot of touches and focus on your doubles game. Keep it simple.
Yeah. You're a great singles player and doubles player. What is some of the things you look for in a partner? I'm not trying to look for a partner or anything, but what are some of the things? Because a lot of players that I know, it's interesting to watch them and the dynamics when you find a partner. Sometimes two really good players actually don't play well together. So what are some of the things that you look for when you're picking a partner, whether it's mixed or male doubles?
Sure. Well, I jokingly say that the first rule of pickleball is have a good partner. But the second rule of pickleball to me is be a good partner. And so, like you said, I've played with some very good players that I just didn't necessarily mesh well with or didn't like their attitudes. Uh, and typically, I've had a lot of partners that are bigger and stronger than me to put the ball away. So I kind of just keep the ball alive and do stuff and get the other team to pop it up. And I have my bigger, stronger partner step over and actually do the putaways and hit the winners. So I just try to make them look good. But I have the most fun, or I play the best when I'm having the most fun. And so I've had a couple partners that I get along with really well off the court as well, or a little closer with off the court, and we end up just playing better because we're a little more relaxed because we just enjoy each other's company a little more. So I would say the first thing is you've got to find someone that you're going to actually enjoy playing with, because if you're playing with someone that you don't necessarily enjoy playing with, or you don't necessarily like their attitude, or they're not supportive, it's amazing how subconsciously that brings your game down or puts a little unnecessary pressure on you. And I play my best when I don't have any pressure and I'm playing loose and free, and knowing that I might go for a silly shot, but my partner's not going to roll his eyes and tell me how stupid that was. He's going to say, "Hey, man, you normally make that. No worries." I appreciate that. It takes a lot of pressure off and makes me play better.
I love that. I love that attitude. What are some of the things that you do to be a good player that you consciously make decisions like here's how I'm going to be a good partner for my partner?
Well, I try to stick to the patterns. I have a tendency to try to get a little crazy. Like I said, my style is like I'm deceptive and tricky. And when I'm dialed in and I'm playing well, it's working. But I have to also know when to just be consistent and have my partner know what I'm doing. And so we're kind of working on the same page. So for me, it's finding the right patterns that helps my partner feel more comfortable, or hitting shots in places where I know my partner is in a good position to help win the point. So instead of speeding up bad balls or trying to do anything crazy and then my partner gets killed, or hitting certain shots in places where I know I'm setting my partner up essentially. So finding a way to work together with my partner instead of trying to be a one man show, I think that goes a long way as a team.
Yeah, you want to create that chemistry. Do you find that creating chemistry can be good like off the court? Do you find that beneficial to create almost like a friendship connection off the court so that you can bring on that connection on the court? Or does that really not matter much?
For some people, that helps. I know a lot of people struggle to play with spouses or significant others because I feel like they put too much unnecessary pressure on each other. But I've played some of my best with some of my closest, my best friends, and I feel like it's one of those things. Having the confidence in them on court is one thing, but also knowing that they've got your back no matter what, on or off the court. I feel like that translates on court as well.
I agree. I agree. I have a boyfriend and we play together, and I have to remember not to play as his girlfriend, but as his pickleball partner. Different story. Very different story. So tell me, who are some of your favorite partners that you've played with over the years and why?
Uh, oh, just a few that come to mind. I love playing with one of my best friends, Andre Diascu, who actually just won the last major league pickleball championship. So I was super stoked for him. But he actually won the U.S. Open this year. Just he's been a really good friend of mine off the court for years, and then we've had some success on court. We've had some brutal losses, but a lot of really cool wins. So one of those things that no matter what happens, we're there, supporting each other. Uh, I used to play a lot with Ben Johns. He was a really good friend of mine, and so I always had fun playing with him. Simone Jardim, the female greatest player of all time. Always a pleasure playing with her, but I also was friends with her off the court as well. So, there's a trend there. I always had the most fun playing with people who I also had fun hanging out with afterwards to celebrate and whatnot. So, but I've actually also got to play a tournament with my sister, who I played maybe 3 tournaments with her, and one of them was probably some of the most fun I've ever had, and another event was not fun at all. Because if we're doing well, everything's great, all's fine and dandy. But as soon as we start losing, we start bickering with each other like brother and sister. So, so yeah, we have to be very specific which tournaments we play together because we know if there's too much pressure, it doesn't end well.
Your mom and dad were probably like, "Stop."
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Love those players. They're all amazing players. Anyone who's watching definitely want to look up these players, these people playing at a high level. It's a very different game. When you start this sport, every level ranking that you move up, it becomes a different sport. In the beginning, people don't even usually get to the net. Then eventually you're playing at the net and the whole dynamic continues to shift. So what has it been like for you? Like, when you started, did you start at like 3.0, like at the bottom and work your way up? And what was that journey like?
No, I don't think I was a 3-0. I want to say my first tournament was at a 4-5, but I was playing with a 60-something-year-old man, and we took bronze. Uh, but no, I think just the fact that I started so early, and I was, especially in my area, I was probably the youngest player playing. Just by athleticism alone, I was kind of automatically a 5 compared to everyone I was playing with. And then, like I said, I got to start practicing pretty early on with some of the best players in the world, so I got to 5-0 pretty fast. But there's been times in my career I felt like I've plateaued, where I just didn't feel like I'd got any better in a year and a half. I actually feel like in the last even a few months, I've upped my game a little bit, actually going and practicing things again. Where you play enough where you kind of feel like you've reached your limit, where this is the best I'm ever going to get. There's no point in practicing anymore. Blah blah blah. That's all ridiculous. You're always going to keep getting better. Maybe you're just not working on the right things. You're not working on things the right way. So I've actually added a few more shots to my game. That's been fun to practice, and actually my love for the game, because I think one of the things that we enjoy it so much is the improvement. You can visibly see the improvement, whether in the scores or you're beating people you used to lose to, or you're hitting better shots than you used to. And to me, that's what's addicting, is seeing that improvement constantly. So, seeing some shots that I've been hitting better, even just in the last week, that I wasn't hitting as well a few weeks ago. It's really exciting for me, and it's just fun to keep progressing.
It's really cool to see ourselves do something that we never thought we could. It's really exciting. That for me is a big deal, to be able to, again, like you said, beat the people who used to beat me, who I used to look up to as, oh my God, they're so amazing. I wonder if I could ever be that good. And to beat them, whew, feels really good. Really good. So when did you know that you wanted to turn this into your life? Because it sounds like you had a lot going on, coming out of high school, you played it a little bit, but you had other sports, you had a lot of things happening. When did you know that you wanted to make this your life?
April 23rd, 2016.
There it is.
I don't know if it's that specific date, but it was at the first U.S. Open, the first U.S. Open of pickleball, which was in April 2016, and I won it with my partner Dave Weinbach, and I got second in the pro singles. But I say that because it was the first time pickleball was ever broadcast on CBS Sports Network. It was the first time it was ever broadcast on essentially national TV, and it was my first time realizing that, wow, this sport might actually get somewhere. This might actually be possible to make a living and take this further if this keeps growing. And so it was that realization, because before that, I was still in school, I was still in college, and before that, it was more of just a hobby on the side, because there was not really much prize money in tournaments, and certainly wasn't broadcast on TV. So who knows what, if it was ever going to grow past that. And it was that realization, like, wow, this could actually be something really cool someday. I should probably stick with this. So I ended up focusing a little bit more on practicing, started playing some more tournaments after that, and I'm really glad I did, because it's given me a lot of really cool opportunities. I've got to, one, just meet a lot of amazing people, but travel all over the place, places I would have never been able to, and it just keeps going. So who knows where it's going to end.
Yeah, and it's much more than just pickleball, right? You do a lot in the community. You do a lot for others. You do a lot for the sport. Guys, he's one of the big pioneers that made the younger generation go, "Hey, wait a second. This isn't just for the retirees. This looks pretty cool." What are some of the other things in pickleball that you enjoy doing?
Oh, like you said, a lot of charity events. I mean, it's one thing I just enjoy sharing pickleball with people and seeing and more so just seeing how it affects people or hearing some of the stories these people how pickleball has completely changed their lives. It's there's I can't even different stories, but I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where some of these people just it's just totally changed their lives for the better. And so it's like, how many people out there probably still need something like this, and how much good could this sport do for someone like that? So that's really exciting for me. So getting to just go and do events all over and sharing pickleball with people is really exciting. So I'm actually going to Peru in a couple weeks for their second annual pickleball Peru like national tournament. Getting it started there. One of my best friends down there is growing the sport down there. So I've been to Europe a handful of times, Central America a few times. Just growing the sport internationally is really exciting for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's good to see, this is expanding really, really quickly. It's the fastest growing sport in North America. And in the world, it is rivaled only by padel and esports. So video games. Apparently that's a sport now. So that's what's rivaling it. But I've got to ask, who and what has inspired you the most in pickleball? Do you have a story or someone who you really look at and goes, wow, they light me up. They make me want to be a better person, better player in pickleball.
I would probably just have to be my uncle. He's the first person that came to mind. So I mean, I always looked up to him already, and he's a great pickleball player in his own. He's actually the Florida State Senior Games like champion multiple times in pickleball. But what really got me was a few years ago he had a stroke, and we weren't sure if he was going to even make it. And the doctor said he probably is barely going to be able to walk again. Uh, Probably can't take care of himself really anymore, and certainly would never be able to play pickleball again. And and he's half blind, and he this son of a gun, he medals in the Florida State Senior Games. Like a couple years later, competes in the U.S. Open, gets a bronze medal in his age division, the U.S. Open. It's like this guy just said, you know what? None of that negativity. I'm gonna fight through this, and that's just the kind of guy he is. So it's like if he can overcome something like that, what do I have to complain about?
I love that. You can't miss pickleball. Like, I know so many people who get injured and they're just itching to get back on the court. Most of them will not listen to their doctors and they get on the court anyways and they make it worse. But it's just goes to show that this sport has a way with people. It just makes you want to come back more and more. It's addictive. Honestly, if I'm being super honest, it's got an addiction factor. When you're not playing, you want to play. When you're playing, you want to play one more game. That is like a famous saying, right? One more game turns into 10 more games, right? So how do you balance it all? How do you, have your own life, your personal life, pickleball as a career, pickleball as fun? How do you balance it all?
It's not easy. No, that's not easy. That's a great question. How do you balance it all? Because I feel like right now, especially with the way pickleball is growing, and opportunities are popping up all over the place. You get offered certain things, and you just want to say yes to everything, and you realize you don't have time for it. So my schedule gets kind of crazy. Most of the time, I want to say at times, but most of the time, my schedule is crazy, and I miss my family. It's hard always traveling or going all doing these things. So but there's other things to focus on, and I think the biggest thing for me is telling myself that pickleball is what I do. It's not who I am, and so it's one of those things like yeah, it's a career for me, but at the same time, making sure to stay grounded and stay in the real world and not just get consumed by just pickleball, pickleball, pickleball all the time is really important. So I try to find ways to kind of take a break and get back to life without pickleball because between you and I don't really remember what my life was like before I started playing pickleball, which is kind of funny to me. So it's fun to kind of take a break and do other things occasionally, but you always gotta get back to all right. Let's go play.
Let's go play one more game. What are some of the things you do outside of pickleball? Let's get to know Kyle a little bit. What are some of the things that light you up outside of pickleball?
Oh, one of my favorite pastimes actually is surfing. One of my best friends, Steve, who I met through pickleball, introduced me to surfing, gosh, close to 10 years ago. And yeah, I fell in love with that as well. In fact, I could almost argue that I like surfing more than pickleball, but I'm just much better at pickleball. But it's just one of those things. It's a nice little escape, right? It's a nice mind refresher from all the pickleball stuff, which, like you said, it gets crazy because the pickleball community, they're just surrounded by pickleball all the time. And so they eat, sleep, breathe pickleball, and it's nice to kind of get back outside of that for a little bit. Yeah, you know what I mean. But
Oh,
it's nice to
yes.
get away from that for a little bit and try to get grounded and focus on some other things. So, but currently I'm opening indoor pickleball facilities in Colorado. I just moved to Denver a few months ago,
Okay.
and so that's an exciting new venture for me. I'm kind of stepping out of the competing realm where I've been just competing and playing professionally for about 10 years straight now, and so it's nice to focus on things off court as well, but still be involved with exciting for me. So I'm definitely testing myself in different areas of expertise.
I love it. Do you have any interesting, fun ways to make this pickleball facility and the next part of your journey stand out? And I'm sure, please let us know how others in Denver could find this place.
Sure. Well, it'll be called the Pickler, Picklr, and it's a company based out of Utah, owned by some really really great guys. And I was fortunate enough to get in contact with them and start a franchise development opportunity in the state of Colorado, and they're expanding nationally, and which is it's just really exciting because one, I just want to be able to share more pickleball courts, to the world. Is that I get to work in a business that I actually am passionate about and get to enjoy. And I'm not much of a salesman, but I definitely could be honest and tell people that they're going to enjoy playing pickleball. So it's nice to be able to provide that for them.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's funny. When I first started playing pickleball, one of the first things I noticed was the supply and demand effect. Low supply with a massive demand. So for anyone who, understands blue ocean and business and entrepreneurship, right now is just such a beautiful time to be in pickleball because there's so much you can do to give back to the community and give to that demand that is so massive at the moment. There are just not enough courts for all the people who want to play this sport. So I'm assuming that was one of the things you noticed that kind of led you to wanting to be an entrepreneur in the space as well, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and coming from Florida, which is where I'm from, there's so much pickleball. I think Florida had a head start compared to most other pickleball developments. So they're building. They've got tons of courts already, and they're building more. And there's so many pickleball players already. And some of these other states are a little bit far behind. And I had some connections in Colorado, and they definitely are lacking courts. But they're also having a lot of issues with noise complaints on their outdoor courts that are in residential areas. And so I thought, well, if their outdoor courts are getting shut down, but the demand is growing and more people are playing, they're going to need facilities, but they're not going to want to build them outside. So why not open some indoor spaces? So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get totally like raw and honest. What's it like being a pro in today's pickleball world? Which for those of you watching pickleball, it's crazy. It's crazy. There are leagues battling for supremacy. There's all the team events and all the different stuff going on. What's it like as a pro during this crazy time?
It's hard to keep up with all, but it's crazy to me because of where it's come from. So for me, it's changed a little bit where now it's gotten so hectic, but I'm not necessarily one of those top players winning everything anymore. Back in the day, I want to say 2017, 18, and when I was world number one, and I was really the only pro that they had showed on TV. Any tournament I went to, anywhere I went, people like recognized me, wanted to say hi to me. I was kind of like the big fish, right? And nowadays there's so many good pros that I could go to a pro tournament and I'm not getting harassed by anyone, which is kind of nice, So it's you get to share some of that, and I never really handled that really well. The fame always kind of surprised me because it's such a small community and it's so tight knit that everyone really feels like they know everybody. And so you go to a tournament and there's 1,000 people there, and everyone feels like they're friends. So it's tough going to a tournament. I'm focused on what I've got to do, and then there's hundreds of people all wanting to say hi or take a picture or whatnot, and I love it because a lot of friendly people, but then it's tiring. And so nowadays, with so much else going on, it's kind of nice that it takes a little bit of the spotlight away from me, and I can just get back to just doing what I enjoy doing, which is just playing. And then I still get some of the OG picklers that have been around for a while that recognize me, but it's nice. It's nice not being the center of attention. Like I said, I never really handled that very well. I just love pickleball. I never really did it for the attention or anything like that. I just wanted to play and find a way to make a living playing. I didn't realize all that would come with that.
All just for the love of the sport. I know the feeling. It took me out of a realm where things were so serious. I had to really do my best and give, and serve, and to be able to just get on the court and not care, to just have fun, watch myself get better, connect with all these people. It was very simple and just so amazing. So I love that you say that. You're part of the upper echelon. Whether there are a ton of really great pros out there, you're still you're at the top. What is your opinion on all the stuff going on with the multiple leagues battling for supremacy, the MLP versus Vibe, and all that stuff? What's your opinion on how everything's going right now?
Yeah, it's the wild west right now in pickleball. Even my team owner with Major League would text the team and just say, "Hey, I know there's a lot going on right now. Just focus on you guys. Keep training. Don't worry about all that other stuff going on." And I just remember responding, "Dude, I'm not paying any attention. There's so much going on. I can't even keep up with it anyway. So and it'll work itself out." But it's a really exciting time because it shows that there's a lot of interest in the sport, and so you have people who are actively looking to grow the sport and invest a lot of money and build and as frustrating it is for the players where things kind of keep changing pretty rapidly, it's still exciting because there's a lot of opportunities. It's if it was slow or dead or no one was wanting to own the sport, run tournaments, well, that's not good for the players. So it's exciting. It's hard to keep up with, but it's a positive thing, and at the same time, like you said, it's a good problem to have. And I'm hoping they figure it out. It's crazy. No one really knows what's going on next year, but the sport's growing, and that's a good thing. So we'll see what happens.
Agreed. Wouldn't you like to see this in the Olympics?
I think that'd be really cool. I think we're really far away from that, but I think it'd be really, really cool someday. I'm hopeful.
I agree. I'm hanging in there. That's awesome. That it hasn't always been rainbows and butterflies for you or any of the pros that play and are part of this wild west. What are some of the big challenges that you had to face and overcome? Some of the mountains that you've had to climb to get to where you're at?
Well, the biggest one for me was when COVID hit
Mm,
because I was again at the time world number one ranked player. Just won the U.S. Open for the fourth time in a row. Humble brag, but I was really optimistic about the next year. And I was playing great. I was really excited, and everything stopped for gosh 7, 8, 9 months, however long it was, where there was all my clinics that I was teaching got canceled, all the tournaments got canceled, no one was allowed to play, all the courts got shut down, and I go, oh my gosh, I just invested the last 6 or so years of my life into this, and what if it doesn't come back? No, I mean, at the time, no one really knew what was going on. I said, what if it doesn't come back? What am I going to do now with the rest of my life? And so that was a real for me. And I'll be honest, I didn't handle it very well. I was a little bit depressed, truly, for a while because I was like, man, I got to figure something else out. I don't know what to do. I really don't want to go back to college. I don't want to get a real job with what just happened. This is horrible. And eventually, tournaments came back, which was great. And I went and started playing tournaments again. This was like a year after COVID struck, and oh my gosh, I wasn't the best player anymore. I hadn't been training like everyone else was. There was a bunch of new players that came in that had been training that were hungrier than I was, and I wasn't winning anymore. All of a sudden, I was getting taken fourth, fifth place in tournaments. And I'm like, what just happened? It's, a year ago, I was the best player in the world, and now I'm barely medaling. And so that was really hard realization for me. So for about a year, I kind of went through this phase where, maybe I should just quit. Maybe I should look for something else. And I just didn't really, I wasn't enjoying it because it wasn't as fun to go and lose and lose and lose. And eventually I got that slap in the face where, dude, it doesn't matter if you're the best in the world. Do you enjoy playing? All right, then find a way to make it work. And so that's what I did. So I started teaching a little more, played a little more tournaments on the side, and sure enough, I started having better results because I took a lot of pressure off myself and just kind of stuck with it. Started having pretty good results with the APP tour. This time, if you guys don't know, there were like multiple pro tours. It was fragmented, and so I played on the a second. It wasn't a lower tier, but it was sort of. It wasn't like the major league, but it was kind of one under. But it was more just because I just enjoyed playing. I didn't want the pressure of having to play against the number one player in the world and lose. I just said I just enjoy playing. I'm not doing it just for the money. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. And uh, and yeah, so I kind of dug myself out of it. Major League Pickleball drafted me to a team, and I enjoyed the team aspect of it, and kind of gave me a reason to keep playing. And so here I am. So I'm still competing on my own schedule, not just grinding away every weekend playing tournaments. Focusing on some other pickleball aspects that are not just on court things, and I'm definitely enjoying it a lot more now.
That is such a great piece of advice. It's something that I was mentioning at the start of the episode is to chase what lights your soul on fire. This challenge that he faced that, kind of made him feel like he was back or behind or below. To get back on top is to just enjoy, to just have fun. It's such a simple piece of advice, but it really is hard hitting. And there's a lot of people who play this game and they take it serious, and they're on their road to going pro or to playing high level, and that pressure can be tough to handle. You go to these tournaments and it's like, if I don't win gold, am I good enough? If I don't win a medal, am I good enough? Should I give up? Should I stop taking it serious? And I think, the advice you just gave of just enjoy it takes that pressure off, and it actually will make you play better. But aside from that, it makes life better, wouldn't you say?
Well, that's just it. I feel like people try to compare themselves to others so often. And you look at a sport like pickleball, where 10% of the time, probably 99%, you're losing. And what I mean by that is, if you've got 50 people.
Uh-oh. Kyle, I think we lost you. Can you hear us, Kyle? Oh, no. The good news is the episode is coming to a close. I hope it's not my internet. I hope we can get you back there, Kyle. And in the meantime, I think we lost him. But in the meantime, the piece of advice that he's sharing, I can't stress it enough. Make sure that whatever you're doing, you do it for fun. Let your soul on fire with something that is fun for you. And for anyone who's been watching and seeing the ticker below, you'll see a bunch of referral codes. So pickleball players, if you're looking for great deals on paddles, apparel, any type of gear and accessories, look below. The referral codes are just starting right now. Most of them are going to be heck yeah. That's my code. You can get a bunch of discounts on all these different companies like Groovin, Edge Tapes from Pickled Out, Diadem Pickleball, 10% off. So write these down, use them, enjoy them, and don't forget to check out ErnieBox.com, which is ERNE box.com. That is our subscription box that makes every 3 months better than Christmas, because you're going to receive a box filled with incredible goodies having to do with elevating your pickleball game, as well as training and digital content that myself and other pros are putting out on how to better your game, how to better your mindset, and how to just really enjoy the sport while becoming a champion. I wish we could have Kyle on to say goodbye. It doesn't look like that's happening because this is the end of the show. But Kyle, I want to thank thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for taking time out of your busy, busy day, busy schedule, being one of the top players in this game, and all the endeavors you are on in this sport as one of the first incredible pioneers. Thank you so much for hopping on. With that, this show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it.